welcome to another unboxing video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander, and today we're taking a look at World at War 85, and it's Storming the Gap, World at War 85. So, the World at War is a series of games that's going to be expanded upon. This is Storming the Gap. As you may well imagine, 1985, it's a Full the Gap World War III game. So this is brand new from LnL Publishing. We also have the expansion pack, and the expansion pack has 3 expansions in it. So it is the box is the same size and almost weighs more than the base game. So if you like this kind of game, there is a ton more of it if you just get the base game. So let's take a look. This is a big, heavy box, and there is a lot in here. This is a game that we sat down with the designers at WBC and played around with it. It was a huge piece. The maps can all be joined together to do this huge campaign, and it was really cool. They were playing it over a series of days. We have the rule set, and it's rule set 2.0, and it is a big rule set. We're not going to get past the numbers here. So numbers wise, this is all artwork and stuff. Okay, starter kits in here. So 120. That's index. We don't really want to count that. And some acknowledgements and a glossary. So really 100 pages of rules. 100 pages of rules. 100 pages of rules. Full color. A gloss rule book here. But 100 pages of rules. It's also 100 pages of pictures, diagrams, explanations, and a font size that anyone without glasses could read. Like, that is a lot of rules pages, but there's not a lot of rules. You could crush this down, and it would be at most a 50-page rule book from any other wargame company. So don't let that deter you. It's not as scary as it looks. Because we also have this tome of 130 pages of scenarios. There's 20 scenarios, and the setups and all the rules for each of those are explained very explicitly. But these are just it's all scenarios, and then the campaign game. So don't be put off. There's a lot of stuff in here. That's a lot of paper, but you play it scenario by scenario if that's what you want to do, and it's not going to be that much of an investment as it might seem from over 200 pages of paper to look through. Okay, so we have a couple of decks of cards, which we'll get to, and then we have a bunch of dice, which are vacuum packed and sealed for freshness. So we've got 4 blue dice, 4 red dice, D6s for combat resolution. Let's take a look at the cards here. Whoops, he says, popping them open. Alright. So the cards, hopefully I didn't mix them up too badly. Alright. So the majority of the cards are formation cards, like this one here. When you pull this card, you look at this purple 8th Guard Spetsnaz. That's the formation that you're going to activate when you pull this card. The 6 is like a morale type rating for the turn, and then they have a command range and a reduced command range. So something like, those are all the same. All of the different formations have cards that you're going to pull. And this is effectively replacing a chip pull system. It's a card pull system. It's just fewer chits, a bit easier to look at. We also have more and more and more. And obviously, if you're playing the small scenarios, you're not going to have a deck of 200 cards. Just not going to. You'll only have fewer formations. And as the campaign goes on, units will get eliminated or they'll join in. So the deck's going to be altered. Here's a bunch of American ones. And then West Germans, more United States, more Wessies. There's a ton of those. But yeah, you pull a card, that's the formation that activates. Whoever's playing that side activates that whole formation as much as they can and does the stuff with it. Pull another card. It's a chip pull system, but it's with cards. So it's nice and clean that way. Okay. So here we've got the maps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 maps. Okay. The maps are single-sided, so this is snow map. But it's a hex map. The hexes are, it's the corner hexes. The hexes are there. The overlay isn't super bold, but it's very visible. I don't know if this is picking that up all that well, but the terrain is very crisp and clear about what it all is. Let's look at a regular map here. You can see the hexes maybe a bit more obvious in the camera shot. Those snow ones are just fine if you're looking at it in person. These ones kind of have like the grey white overlay on them. You can see it's like a town with the major roads going in and out. Rivers and forests. Single-sided. More of these. So a scenario might play on one map, it might play on 2, it might play on 4. You can play the whole campaign where you lay out all 8. And you play an absolute ton of this game. Or it might be just 4. But there's a lot of different options. We might check that actually. Let's just check. Snow map 1. I'm going to double check before we spread misinformation. Because I believe it might be that these are the same. Oh, and I think they are. Okay, good. I knew I had read that. So, this is map 1. Spring summer map. This is winter map 1. It's an identical map, it's just in snow. So you can play the game either in winter or summer, and the winter map is effectively the same, although it's easier to see through trees because all the leaves have fallen off. But I think there's, generally speaking, the terrain's harder to move through and there might be some reduced command ranges. There's some adverse effects, but also some different positive effects. It's just a different... some different rules, but so really there's 4 summer maps. So I think at most you'd play with 4 of these maps, and that's the full campaign, which is still pretty big on a table. And that's what they had at WBC. They had all the maps out, and it was really cool. So there's all of those. So the rest of everything that's in here is play aids and charts. And there's a lot of them. So you have a play aid for the East Germans. Play aid for the West Germans. And this is just a reference for all the different stats that you might ever need. More Aussies. More Wessies. And here, you know, you've got helicopters, you've got jet fighters, all this kind of stuff. There's a ton of references. And the other aspect of this game is that this also, I think it's included in this also has all of the rules for playing these as a miniatures game. This is a hex encounter war game, but each of the units, and I think each of the units has a reference card of range increments and comparisons about how far they can or can't shoot. This is just some examples. This is a line of sight and height reference. So yeah, it's a lot of paper, but this is to help us learn the game. At some point, you're not going to need this play aid card. There is a lot of cards in here, but some of the stuff is just to help you initially, and then you'll be able to set it aside and never use it again. Terrain effects chart for Storming the Gap. Terrain effects chart. We have Soviet forces, front and back, more US forces. So yeah, this is a hex encounter war game, but it does also have unit references. And I wonder if, I want to see, no. There's unit references for making this a tabletop game as well, which I thought was very interesting. They had a lot of requests for that, so they went ahead and created those kind of rules as well, which was nice. Missile ammo usage chart. I mean, there's some detail in this game, but actually gameplay-wise, pull a card, you've got a formation, everyone who's in command range can move and shoot. They take an order, they do what they want to do. There is crunch to it, but it's not a super massive crunchy game. So you've got offboard artillery, a holding box for your cards if you so chose. Turn records track, weather chart, battle generator, so this gives you points and some turn length modifiers depending on how or when you want to do it. Fire modifiers, sequence of play, every die roll in the series. If you're rolling a die, you can look at this, it tells you all the modifiers and what they do. So that's very nice. And then holding boxes for things ready to be deployed, suppressed, and casualties. And everything else in here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sheets of counters. So, some of the stuff's going to be very familiar to you. If you've ever played Nations at War, this will be very, very familiar to you. Each of these formations has a different color band on them, and it's got range, attack, and then they're different colors for different types of weapons that they're using. If this formation is going to activate, if they're within range of the HQ, all these guys are going to move, attack, or do whatever you order them to do. It's real simple that way. You pull a card, boom, Scratch Force. Look up Scratch Force, those guys activate. Boom, you move them around, do some stuff. It's not a complex system at its heart, although there's some good detail and crunch to it. And on the reverse, you've got your reduced sides of a lot of the stuff here as well. So these punch very easily. They're pre-cut and pre-rounded, so if you're like me and you clip all your counters, you don't have to do it for this game. And they're getting really, really nice at I don't know who they use to cut their counters, but they're joined at the side, I believe, but there's almost no side gates. These are cut really, really well. Like you can see, this is where it was joined, but there's nothing there. I'm really impressed by that. They're all centered well. Here, there's a ton more of them. But the counters are very high quality as well. So here we've got some of those missile ammunition markers, a bunch of administrative stuff as well. Here's a bunch of Wessies, I believe. And you got some Soviet T-80s down there, more Soviet forces, BTR-60s. And some Hinds, got some attack helicopters, T-55s down the bottom. And some more administrative markers, so your choppers are going to come in, flying, landing. Burnout markers. And then some disrupted, Rex. Are these ops complaint markers? I'm not sure. Those might be something else. Disrupted. But yeah, that's how this game works. Activate a formation, move formation, do yourself with a formation. As much as that rulebook is 100 pages, it is not something to be terrified of. The game at its heart is not something scary, which I was impressed by because at WBC it was this huge. They had all the maps printed on like a piece of vinyl, and it was massive. I mean, it was massive. It was a huge table, and it was covered in counters. But the gameplay is like, pull a card. All right, find the blue guys. Let's move the blue guys and see what they can do. They move. They shoot. You know, that's it. Oh, let's pull another card. Let's see what we do. And so it looks intimidating, but this is actually a very approachable game considering what it is. So that's a big kudos from me, at least. Now let's take a look at the expansion pack. Again, there's like 3 expansions in here. There's actually there's more stuff in here than in the base game. So I think the first expansion is the Defense of Frankfurt. And so there's historical maps of actual Frankfurt and the surrounding area of Fulda Gap. Just so you get a bit more, maybe realism, so to speak, out of it. Realism. It never happened. Let's not pretend that that's the word that I should use, but it's a bit more... You have a historical maps, so to speak. Okay. Yeah, look how many more maps there are from the base game. That's crazy. And again, they give you winter maps that are identical to the summer maps. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 maps. I mean, that's absolutely insane. There's just so much game here if this is a topic you're interested in. And obviously we've got a lot of urban stuff here as well because of all the cities in Frankfurt and the surrounding areas. A lot of autobahns, a lot of forests. So we're going to be driving around nice and easy, hopefully. But there's a ton of these maps. That's so many maps. And there's the winter variant as well. And the winter variant is just going to give you an entirely different tactical situation, if not geographically the same. So I think that's very neat of them. Okay. We were talking about the miniatures versions of the data cards. That's what these are. So you have to get the expansion if you want to use these, miniatures rules, so to speak. There's a ton of miniatures games out there, things like Flames of War, Bolt Action, but these basically just give you unit references. If you have those models, they give you the unit references, so it tells you 28 millimeters can shoot 60 inches. 15 millimeter can shoot 32 inches. So if you're playing tabletop wargaming, this gives you that, which is pretty neat. I just think that's cool that they did that. They had a bunch of requests for it, and they were like, yeah, sure. We can mock up some reference cards for it, and they did. So you can use all of these as a freeform tabletop game as well if you wanted to. You could even use these counters. You don't have to have all the models if you didn't want to. But if you do have all the models, if you're a hobbyist in that way, it's all right here for you. So I think these are pretty cool. I'll be interested. I would love to see feedback on how many people actually use these and some battle reports on those. So if this is something you plan on doing, please, I don't know, take pictures, tell us about it, send us an email, tag us on Twitter, because I love tabletop wargaming as well. We don't do a lot of it, but I have a lot of the stuff. And it's always fascinating to see a company basically it's a risk, right? This is an investment, printing all these, just to see how people use it, what they're doing with it. I can't even get these up. Okay, there we go. Yeah, these are all these unit references, which is, I think that's just really cool that they did that. I think that's just very neat. Just something very different you don't see in a war game. Okay. Obviously, we've got more and more formation cards, and that's because the second expansion, so to speak, is called Second Wave, and this is the Czechs coming in more of like the southern theater. So the Czechoslovakia is still part of the Soviet Union at this time, and so there's this whole extra set. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. 6 more scenarios. There's 6 more scenarios in there, and it's the Czechs coming in from the south, and then West German counterattacks. So more stuff there. And then we have Drive on Gießen, which is extra rules, it looks like. Those aren't scenarios. So, this is a campaign system. Oh, so you can link a bunch of missions together for an extended, protracted campaign. So that's neat. And these are the campaign references there. This is the defense of Frankfurt. So there's 1, 2 scenarios, but these maps are huge. You stick them all together. This is Hold the Damn Line is the name of the scenario. So this is like big, full OOBs. You're playing with a lot of maps on this. That's a lot of stuff. Yeah. A couple of scenarios doing that. So the campaign map is this one. I don't know if these reference. I'm not sure. But obviously this is... Here's your division down the Grenze. And so the Soviets are going to push out and there'll be counterattacks and things like that. But the campaign's going to link some of those together. We have more of these reference cards for all the new formations that we put in the game. West Germans. And then we've got Czechoslovakian Republic National Unit Table. And on the back as well. Looks like we have another campaign here. Oh, this is a counterattack, it looks like. Everything, well, that's interesting. I'm not going to speculate on that and how different that is from this one. I'm not entirely sure, but those are probably, it's a reverse campaign, I would imagine. It's typically what you get in those. More Westies, more Czechoslovakians. Again, these are all references, which I'm hoping at some point you just don't need. Hoping you figure it out and you don't need to have all these out. The campaign stuff, Drive on Gießen, has a lot of strategic air war stuff. So I think that's going to help us in the ground combat as well. Sequence of play for all of that strategic air. More Westies. And then a ton of Soviet formations and units. Again, there's a lot of game in here. A lot of game. More American formations. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 counter sheets. I think the base game had 7. It's got 6 in it. Like I said, this expansion pack, of all the expansion packs I've ever seen, this has the most in it. And it looks like you're getting some good value for money. So we have admin counters and a lot of stuff for the Drive on Gießen here, with your airstrikes for both sides. Some more admin markers, and then the formation. So I think the blue ones are the Czech ones. Yeah, they got T-55s. So these are the Czechs. The blue ones, more grey units are the West Germans. Reds are the Soviets, T-64s. We got some bigger tanks there. And then we got some armies as well. M113s. Some Abrams down there. And again, you get all the formation cards for all of those as well. So there's a ton of stuff in in the expansion pack. A ton of fairly exciting stuff as well. Just more and more and more. So this is a game that's going to serve you for a long time. And there is also, and we'll look at this in another video, they came out with a solitaire assistant. So if you don't have someone to play with some of these bigger campaigns, there is a solitaire assistant that you can get for the World at War series. So you can, it's chit draw, basically, but it's card draw. So you can do it solo anyway, but that helps you to make maybe some more independent decisions. Like the solitaire AI is going to do some things instead of you being like, what's the best thing that I can do? There's nothing wrong with that, but having a solitaire AI do it, add something else that you might not have thought of. So an absolute ton of game here between the core game and the expansion pack. So if this is a topic you're interested in, this is something you should definitely check out. The game, whilst it looks daunting, is not as terrifying as it may seem. And that's a credit to it. We had a good time just watching people play it at WBC and sitting down with the designers and developers just playing. They were playing it. And that's what I enjoyed. Some of these big games, it's so heavy and tactical rich. Everyone's having fun playing a game. So very, very excited to actually play this, which is not something I thought I would say about a World War III game, because it's a topic that doesn't grab me as much as it does a lot of other people. But I have been beaten into submission and being excited for this one just by watching other people be so excited and watching them playing have such a good time. So I like Nations at War. This is a very similar system with some changes and updates, obviously, for Modern Combat. Very excited to play this, and you'll see a review of this one coming fairly soon. So appreciate you guys watching, and I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.